Red Heart Complete Love Story. Approximate 1,100 words. One invitation. One reunion. One forever love. At 40 years old, Laura Mitchell believed she had mastered the art of hiding loneliness. She was a successful event planner, organizing weddings that looked like fairy tales. Every weekend, she helped couples celebrate the happiest day of their lives. Yet every time the bride walked down the aisle, Laura quietly wondered if she had missed her own chance at happiness. Love had once knocked on her door. His name was Benjamin Carter. 20 years earlier, they had been deeply in love during college. They dreamed of opening their own event company and traveling the world together. But after graduation, Benjamin accepted a job abroad while Laura stayed home to care for her younger sister after their parents passed away. Life slowly separated them. Phone calls became shorter. Letters stopped arriving. Eventually, they accepted the painful silence. Neither married. Neither truly forgot. One bright spring morning, Laura received an elegant wedding invitation. It was from her college friend, Amanda. Laura smiled as she opened the envelope. Then another small handwritten note slipped onto the table. Someone special will be there. Don't leave early. Trust me. Laura laughed. Amanda always loved surprises. The wedding took place at a beautiful countryside vineyard. Soft music filled the air. Fresh flowers decorated every table. Guests laughed beneath strings of glowing lights. Laura was helping the wedding coordinator when she accidentally bumped into someone carrying 2 cups of coffee. Oh, I'm so sore. She looked up. The coffee nearly slipped from her hands. Benjamin? He smiled in complete disbelief. Laura, for a few seconds, the world disappeared. Nothing else mattered. You look exactly the same. Laura laughed. You're lying. No, you still smile the same way. Amanda watched him across the garden and quietly smiled. The surprise had worked. Throughout the evening, Laura and Benjamin barely left each other's side. They spoke about everything they had missed. 20 years of stories. 20 years of questions. 20 years of wondering. Finally, Laura asked a question that had lived inside her heart for 2 decades. Why didn't you come back? Benjamin sighed. I did. What? I came home 3 years later. I looked everywhere. You had moved. Laura stared at him. My sister and I relocated after her university. Benjamin looked down. I thought you'd moved on. Laura whispered, I thought you had. Both smiled sadly. Life had stolen years, but not love. After the wedding, Benjamin asked, would you like dinner sometime? Laura smiled. I was hoping you'd ask. Their first dinner lasted nearly 5 hours. The restaurant closed before they finished talking. They laughed about college memories, shared old photographs, finished each other's sentences. The connection had never disappeared. It had simply waited. Over the following months, they explored the city together, visited museums, watched outdoor concerts, took cooking classes. Benjamin learned he was terrible at baking. Laura discovered Benjamin still couldn't dance without stepping on someone's feet. She laughed every single time. I've had 20 years to improve, and somehow you got worse. I practiced being charming instead. It worked. One rainy evening, they found shelter inside an old train station cafe. As thunder echoed outside, Benjamin reached into his wallet. He carefully unfolded a faded photograph. It showed them together at 20 years old. I've carried this everywhere. Laura touched the photograph gently. So have I. She opened her purse and showed him the exact same picture. Benjamin smiled through tears. I guess neither of us really said goodbye. Autumn arrived. Benjamin surprised Laura with a weekend trip to the countryside where they had once dreamed of building a small wedding venue together. The old property was still empty. Wildflowers covered the fields. Benjamin looked around. Remember this place? Laura smiled. We wanted to help people celebrate love. Benjamin nodded. What if we still can? Together they purchased the property. Months later they transformed it into a breathtaking wedding venue called Forever Begins Here. Couples from across the country booked weddings there. Ironically, the people who had almost lost love forever were now helping others celebrate it. One evening, After the final wedding guests had left, Benjamin invited Laura into the beautifully decorated garden. Hundreds of candles glowed beneath ancient oak trees. A violin played softly in the distance. Laura looked around. "You planned this?" Benjamin smiled. "I've been planning it for 20 years. He took both of her hands. "You know, I've attended hundreds of weddings, but I never imagined mine until I found you again." He slowly knelt, opened a velvet ring box. Inside sparkled an elegant diamond. "Laura Mitchell, I can't change the years we lost, but I can promise every tomorrow. I promise laughter. I promise patience. I promise that every anniversary will remind us not of what we missed, but of what we found. Will you marry me?" Laura cried before she even answered. "Yes, with all my heart." Benjamin placed the ring on her finger. Fireflies danced around the garden. The wind gently carried flower petals through the air. It felt magical. 6 months later, they were married at Forever Begins Here. Friends laughed. Families cried. Amanda stood in the front row with the biggest smile. After the ceremony, she whispered, "My surprise finally worked." Laura hugged her tightly. "It changed my life." Years later, every couple who married at their venue heard the story of how the owners had found each other again after 20 years. Near the entrance stood a wooden sign engraved with these words: "Love may arrive late, but it is never too late to love." Whenever brides asked Laura if she still believed in destiny, she smiled toward Benjamin, who was adjusting flowers near the ceremony arch. Then she answered, "I don't think destiny writes our story. I think love patiently waits until we're ready to finish it." Every anniversary, Benjamin gave Laura a new wedding invitation. Each one was addressed exactly the same way. "To the love of my life, you're invited to forever." And every year, she happily accepted, because the greatest invitation she had ever received